I've watched her do something amazing, which is move to a brand new marketplace, start over from scratch where she doesn't know a soul. And within one calendar year was doing 52 transactions, about 15 million in volume. This calendar year on track to do about 100 transactions, 30 million in volume. The pride and joy of Dallas, Texas, Mrs. Jessica Nelson. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure. And, I'm really thoughtful and purposeful about, who we invite, because we want to make sure that they add lots of value. And I know that you can based on your experience. So I guess I'm curious, you had a complete life over in Hoboken and we're just doing your thing and, owned a few properties, had some rentals, and you had this very interesting idea during COVID to say, you know what, I think I'm going to move halfway across the country and start over from scratch. So talk to the audience a little bit about like what prompted that move and what was the thought process behind it, particularly when there was it was during a time where there was like a lot of uncertainty and required like a really huge amount of courage to make that move.
Yeah. So in August of 2020, most people were still, they were staying home. They were trying to see what was going to happen. And for the most part, people were living in fear, right? So I took the opportunity to say, where can I grow? What can I do to take this time and really blow it up and do something amazing? So I've been in Hoboken raising my children there, and that's a city environment. It's a great place. I'm not saying it's not, but I felt like there was something else for me. And I said, I want to take my kids out to the country. Where can I go and make a huge difference? And I considered a few different places, but for some reason, Texas it stole my heart. And from the minute we landed here on, I think it was August 14th. No, it was my father's birthday. It was August 12th. I said, this is going to be where we move. And so I saw about 10 homes. I picked one. I bought it in 14 days. I sold all 4 of the properties that I owned in New Jersey. And I packed up 2 kids, 2 dogs, and I moved all of us in 14 days from New Jersey to Texas.
What was kind of the thought process and what were some of the conversations that we had to continue to kind of solidify that mindset that starting over from scratch, how strong it needs to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we talked a lot about what do you start? What do you do? What do you physically do to create your first transaction, as if I was brand new in the industry again? And it's really humbling to do that because, if you've been in the industry for 10 years, or if you have other agents that look up to you, it's kind of cool to start brand new and, kind of experience what they experience. You learn a brand new market, you learn the trends of that market. So we talked a lot about, staying focused on the goal, staying focused on contacts, contracts, and previewing property, and really just getting to know this community and how I could serve it.
What activities were you focused on in a completely brand new marketplace where you do not know a soul, like you have no database, you have no people to fall back on, sort of thing? You don't know anybody, that we focused on and basically said everything else is not important, and these are the things that are going to be important?
Yeah, so it's really simple. You ready?
Yeah.
When do you plan on moving?
Love that.
And just let the conversation start. I mean, some people, you don't have to be that direct. Like, listen, people in the South, they don't really appreciate that. So, you want to preface it a little bit different. Oh, hi, my name is such and such. What's yours? Maybe you're in line waiting to pick up your kids at school. Maybe you're going to the gym. All of us do these activities where you meet people every day, no matter how busy you are, guys. And it's very simple to start up a conversation that leads to something having to do with their real estate. Even people will give you hints too, right? Like if someone's like, if you ask them how they're doing, they seem a little down, you're like, you might find out that there's maybe some trouble in their marriage or, some reason why they might need to move.
We had a number that you were focused on, like in terms of contacts, right? Because we're aware that, as a salesperson, our job is to be in the presence of prospects. And just to remember that, I think that's part of your competitive advantage because you're very clear on that while other people aren't. So talk to us a little bit about what your focus was numbers wise and the methodologies that you use. Because I know you weren't just doing one methodology, you were doing multiple methods to get to that number.
Absolutely. So we had an issue with speed to result, right? So for us, what we talked about was talking to 50 people a day and getting to appointments and getting from appointments to contracts to negotiation to close, because I didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So under normal conditions, you probably don't need to talk to that many people. You need to have better quality conversations because they may not move today, but they'll move in a year. And now you add them to your database. They know you, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't have that time. I needed to produce money immediately. So I had to quickly find out who was going to move in the next 30 days and be on those people until they either listed with me or just, died. I don't know.
Yeah. Or told you to like, go fly a kite. And
Yeah.
what is interesting is that understanding and that sense of urgency. I don't think people approach things with that level of urgency. My experience is that there's different levels of importance. One is like, it's not important at all. Two is important. And what's interesting about important is I'm sure you're like me, if there's something that's important, it's important, but it may not get done for a little bit. But then there's an emergency. And an emergency is you drop everything that you're doing right now.
Exactly.
Right. And what I'm aware of is that we were very clear that producing income was an emergency. It's not something like, oh, I'll get to it sort of thing. It's like, nope, it is the most important thing. Not only were you calling, I'm aware you would send me pictures of you knocking on doors, right? I think you lost one of your earrings knocking on doors and you kept going like you didn't even care. So it's just, I think that level of urgency is something that, people aren't clear about. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. You're going to be considered pushy or rude by some people, but what's going to happen is you're going to find people who genuinely need you. Like either another realtor has failed them or they tried to do it on their own and they just couldn't. And when they meet you and you're quote unquote pushy, which is actually just being direct and aggressive, you are a breath of fresh air to them. They are so happy to meet you in your urgency because now they trust that you're going to get this done because they see how badly you want to get it done.
So talk a little bit about, even though you were very clear on the attraction piece, being in a brand new market, like you didn't really know it that well, right? So even then it created like a little bit of doubt for you, like, I don't know, maybe I need somebody with me sort of thing. And then how you overcame that.
Wow, that's a powerful question. So that's self-confidence. That whole thing is a security blanket, which you enjoy pointing out. Everyone has security blankets. Even the most powerful people have strange, weird things that they do that are their teddy bears. And you kind of have to acknowledge it. It's like, I guess, AA, right? You have to admit you have a problem, and then you have to face that problem. And then you have to have a plan around, when I'm doing this, how do I defeat that? What self-talk do you have? What meditation? What books are you reading? What is your program to defeat that behavior that's extremely limiting?
And as far as this, like transitioning again to a brand new market. So we talked about like the attraction piece. We've talked a little bit about the mindset piece. And then we talked about a little bit about the conversion piece. So talk to agents about, in a new market, if they don't know it, how did you go about learning it? How did you go about understanding? Because you understood how to sell, you understood how to attract, you understood how to sell the service and perhaps get them to sign a contract. What I'm also aware of is part of being in a new marketplace is understanding the market dynamics in that marketplace. And also understanding pricing in that marketplace, like understanding the competitors in that marketplace.
What's the number one thing that agents do that prevents them from growing?
I don't know. Let us know.
Overthinking things and turning that into an excuse.
Yep.
If you price the property too high, are you going to know within the first 2 weeks?
100%.
Did you just learn the market?
Yep.
The only mistake that you can really make, guys, is talking yourself out of the business. Mm-hmm. The worst thing that can happen is you paid for photos. Okay, it's $100. Move on.
Yeah.
Use your sales skills to reduce the price to a price that will cause it to sell.
Yep.
Just go take more listings. Stop overthinking everything because
Yeah,
you're
that's good.
talking yourself out of business.
I love that. So what that makes me think of is something that I heard Tony Robbins say one time where he was like, hey, the only reason why you are not doing what you want or have what you want are all the reasons why you tell yourself you can't have it. And that's pretty interesting. And so
Boom.
what you're saying is that with time, as you were setting appointments, going on appointments, doing homework for those appointments, going into those properties, I mean, you just figured it out, as time progressed and as you took more listings, right?
So here's an example. I was door knocking in, I think it was Garland, Texas. I was just out there talking to neighbors, and someone said, okay, I'm clearing out this house. I think it was their uncle or somebody died. I have to put it on the market. You want to come in? I said, sure. And right there, that's the best thing that can happen to you when you're door knocking.
Yeah.
And then he starts asking me buying questions, or in this case, selling questions. Well, how much do you think you can get for it? How long do you think it'll take? If you put it on now, when would I get my money out? This is somebody who wants to sign a contract with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have one with you? Do you have a listing agreement with you?
Yep.
I always do. Whenever I go door knocking, I have at least 3 with me.
And how important do you think it is? Because, for someone, they might imagine, in a brand new marketplace, trying to break into a new market, gosh, like, do I knock on doors? And like, is that something that we would do? So talk to us a little bit about why that's important in terms of that attraction piece, and talk to us a little bit about the results that you got from doing it.
So I personally love doors because you're moving, right? So when you're on the phone, you stand up, you're at your desk, but like you're kind of in the same place. I love the fresh air. These are like naturally de-stressing elements to exercise and to get fresh air, to see nature. It's actually a much better environment for prospecting. And then the other element of it that I love, but actually there's 3 others, but the other element is I love that you get to meet the community. You get to see who lives there. You get to have meaningful conversations with people that maybe it's not a sale right now, but maybe like you can help them in the future, and maybe you can add to their life in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have that conversation over the phone. People just don't open up that way. And then I would say the third thing that I really love is that if you're going to like expireds or FSBOs or canceled, they've heard from 20 people on the phone. When you call them, oh, I heard you're the 8th agent. Boop. How many people have knocked on their door? You will be the only one.
Doing that extra thing that people aren't willing to do, there's going to be nobody else there that's standing next to you, right? How would you propose someone go about cultivating the mental toughness that's required to be disliked, to have people make fun of you, to have people say like, you don't know what you're doing? Like, I remember some guy pulled me in an office. He's like, you don't get it. I'm like, okay. At the time I was maybe like 30 something doing like 150 deals. I'm like, okay, I don't get it. Like, okay. So have people try to criticize you, have it not work out. You know what I mean? Like, people call you names your mom didn't give you, people hanging up on you, losing your earring, these things that like just happen. How do you cultivate the mental toughness to stay neutral doing those things so you can continue to keep making deposits in the areas that are required?
I've heard it. I think it was in that book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about the reason why people go insane is because they don't fulfill their dreams. So now they have this feeling of importance that they find in a world of insanity, right? To fulfill that need. So everyone has a need to feel important. But what makes you feel important? For some people, it's freedom. For some people, it's materialistic things. For some people, it's helping others. I think it's really just a matter of you sitting down with yourself and getting very clear on who do you want to be in this world?
Yeah.
What's going to make you look back on your life at a certain age that you consider to be a good age, and feel like you've done what you wanted to do. Yeah. Feel great about yourself.
I love that. And what I wrote down here is that it's getting clear on, again, specifically the why, because I find that if someone's having a challenge with like time management or the mental piece of things, it's usually a lack of motivation.
Mhm.
And motivation, you break that word down, it's motive to take action. So very clear on the why. And then that why, it has to become a must, not like it would be nice, not like that would be cool, not like I want. It becomes a must. It becomes a minimum standard. So you had a must that you were like, you told me like, look, I want to be one of the top agents in the office, like year one. Okay. And then it's like, well, here's what it's going to take. It's going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you're like, okay. And that was such a big why to you. And it's tied into, the other stuff in terms of legacy and everything, because that allows those other things to happen, that it was a must to you. And because of that, the things that you had to do to get there, you just do them. It's not like there's this perpetual resistance to doing them. I find that if people, they spend so much energy just resisting the things that need to be done, right? And with what you're saying, with that formula in place, with the right coach, with a very clear why, and with the mental toughness, and that why being a must, where my standard, like that's the standard, then that resistance goes away. And then it's just, okay, this is what needs to be done. And I just do it on a daily basis. Is that right?
It should be fun too. Like I have fun with it. I love talking to people. I love going out and on a hot day, they bring me lemonade. We're just talking about real estate. I find it fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I get, like you said, I get to do this. I'm not in a boring office. I'm not surrounded by people that hate each other and talk bad about each other. I get to be out there with people just talking about things I love.
That's right,
They
man.
enjoy.
It's awesome. So listen, I know that this will be exceptionally helpful to a lot of folks out there that are thinking about changing marketplaces. I think you're an awesome human. It's exciting to be a part of your journey and your experience and to see what you're going to produce moving forward. So if somebody has questions, if somebody wants to connect with you, if somebody has a referral they want to send you, how can they find you?
Sold by nelsonglobal@gmail.com.
And she's wonderful. Trust me, she's super good people. She'll take the time to talk to you, help you in any way that she can. Listen, guys, if you liked this episode of the podcast, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you can get notified every time there's a new podcast episode that comes out. Also, be sure to share it with someone that you think could, benefit from it. And, again, we look forward to connecting in the future. Jessica, thanks again for taking the time to be here, and we'll talk soon.
So after a lot of pushback and a lot of hesitation, I jumped into probate, and Aaron's like, do it. You have to do it. It's a great lead source. You can help people.